Hey, what's up guys, John here. We're witnessing the fall of American cities, and it's begun over the last 4 years. We've seen homelessness skyrocket.
The number of homeless people on the streets and in shelters across the U.S. increased significantly this year.
More than 653,000, a 12% population increase since last year.
We've seen crime get out of control.
Nationwide, crime is dominating.
What we're seeing is a very specific, dramatic increase in murder and gun violence.
New data out showing a staggering rise in hate crimes at schools.
We've seen trash all over the streets in San Francisco, Los Angeles, in New York City, in Philadelphia, the violence in Chicago. All of these cities all have very similar problems. They are eroding by the day. But what if I were to tell you that a very big plan is in works right now that over the next 6 years will change everything that we know about real estate, housing, affordability, where and how we live, and America as a whole? We are going to see wealthy people and people of means start to escape the big cities coming very, very, very soon. And people that live inside of the cities will do so because of affordability. They'll have no other option. I'm going to break this down for you. I'm going to show you exactly what is happening to help you and position you for what I believe is going to be the greatest wealth transfer in American history. Please hit the like button, hit the like button. YouTube will share this content, educate more people about what's really going on in America. And if you'd like to fix your credit, we would love to help you. At my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item in your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free study session for tomorrow, for Thursday. Take a look at this. So 30 million new homes by 2030. Yup, it's happening. For example, New York City, they already signed on to 560,000 housing units. You have San Francisco, already signed on to 82,000 housing units. California as a whole, 2.5 million housing units they've already signed on. It's not a paper exercise. It's an exception for the zoning, permitting, and construction of real new housing units. They're locked in on this. I mean, look at this, 2.5 million units. You have CNBC, same exact thing. 2.5 million housing units in the next 6 years. So when you see all this, then you see 22 hours ago, President Joe Biden, 2 million housing units. They're already committed to 2 million units themselves, right, to lower costs for renters and unlock housing market for the first-time buyers and families seeking to trade up or downsize. And he announced new administrative actions to lower costs and making rental markets fairer. What they're really doing is they're going to be going after landlords in a way in which we've never before seen, which is kind of saying a lot because we've seen a lot, especially over the last several years with eviction moratoriums and these tenant protections and, really kind of arming, tenants against landlords. For example, look at what has happened look at the eviction moratorium, for example. It started March 4th of 2020, and they canceled it on March 31st of 2023. Over 2 years, rent was optional. 2 years. You have to ask yourself why. Why would they cancel rent for 2 years when, in reality, everything was basically open? Business was still going on. After the first 6 months or 7 months, 8 months, everything started resuming. People had more money than ever. Stocks, crypto, they were making money left, right, and center. Yet tenants really didn't have to pay rent, and landlords were pushed into a place to where, many of these property owners were suffering massive, massive losses. They were unable to evict, and their costs were just continuing to rise. Then as that was happening, the numbers just started exploding. They say in Los Angeles, even right now, that between 100 and 150,000 renters are behind on rent. 100 to 150,000 renters are behind on rent. And across the entire time, California promised, hey, we are going to pay your back rent. Don't worry about it. We're here to protect the tenant. We're here to protect the landlord. Everything is going to be okay. Just wait a little bit longer. You have to ask yourself why. Why were they doing all that? Why were they saying to just hold off on rent during a period when they could have told tenants, you can go ahead and pay rent. You can pay rent. We're going to cancel this eviction moratorium. We're going to keep it, we're going to keep it on the sidelines for now. But no. So they said California plans rent forgiveness using federal stimulus. Didn't happen. Then Newsom wants state to pay past due rent, extended eviction protections past June, right? California would pay 100% of missing rent for low-income tenants. Never happened, right? Nothing ever happened. They had all this money, but it never got actually given to landlords like it was promised. And so when you saw all that, you're like, okay, well, how bad did this really get? Was it just LA? Was it just really California? In those certain pockets of California? No, across the entire state of California, right now, 1 million households are behind on rent. Think about that. 1 million behind on rent, and 150,000 are expecting eviction coming very soon. Now you might wonder, like, who is this source? PPIC.org. So you started looking into them and clicked on About. Then I went to the board of directors to kind of get an idea. And then you have, CEO of Sierra Health. You have, someone from University of Berkeley. You have former California State Controller and Treasurer. These are reputable Chief Justice of California, retired. These are reputable, people. I would imagine people that have, partner of Melvey and Myers, a really big law firm. You have some really, really powerful people. Edison, right? Southern California Edison, government affairs. So these are people that are probably not putting out false information. They're saying 1 million people right now behind on rent, 150,000 being evicted. So you have this massive buying opportunity that's being built up. Because if there's a lot of people in financial distress that aren't able to really collect the rent, they're not able to make ends meet, but they still have taxes that are due. They still have insurance that's due. They still have expenses that need to be paid. Then you see California swooping in, picking up 14,000 doors during that period, investing $156 million to buy all these units. Now you think about that. Imagine you were, you owned a company, and let's say, for example, you're the CEO of this company, and some breaking news was coming out tomorrow that was going to make the stock jump 200% or 100%. You'd probably run out there and buy as much of it as you could, right? Because you're building out an odds, a situation where the odds are going to be in your favor for massive, massive appreciation. What if you could do the complete opposite and instead build out a really big pool of distress and buy into that distress? And that's exactly what California has done, picking up 14,000 doors. I mean, they're even going as far right now as doing something called a master leasing approach to homelessness. This is going to apparently help the homelessness, where they are essentially going to landlords saying, look, I know, landlord, time's been tough. We're here to help you. Just sign over your entire building to us, and we will rent them out to homeless people, and we'll take care of it. We'll pay you. Everything will be great, right? So you start to look at this. California's trying to find their way into every single door that they possibly can. They're trying to become and take over as the landlord. Now, that's not just California, but this is happening everywhere in major cities all throughout the country. Look at, for example, California is also looking to pass on major rent control protections for tenants coming in at the end of 2024. They're even going as far right now as they have LA City Controller Kenneth Mejia. What he's saying is that they now have 71,000 eviction notices that are being out, and they don't want people to be evicted for failure to rent. He says right here that 96% of these notices were for overdue rent. And so what they are doing, believe it or not, is that they're having face-to-face conversations. So they're knocking on your door like this. Imagine you're the landlord and you have him, Nick Diaz, knocking on your door, telling the tenant, look, you don't have to leave. You do not have to leave. We're going to take care of you. And what we're going to do is we're going to help you. And we're going to help you by allowing free access to nonprofit legal counsel through the mayor's fund to help you stay in, issuing you lawyers who can help you incur further expenses on that landlord, right? So you start to look at this. If you have a scenario where they're building tons and tons and tons of new units, they're working on a $2 billion mega project right now. This came out 4 days ago. Working on a $2 billion mega project, 1,500 units. I mean, you start to look at this, you see one thing very, very clearly. Supply is going to explode, meaning rents, supply and demand. Rents are going to start to come down in a very big way. Insurance and tax are going to go up. Regulation is going to be going up in major cities. And this is what's going to be going on. Like, look at this. In WhiteHouse.gov, fighting rent gouging by corporate landlords. The Biden-Harris administration is taking action to combat egregious rent increases and other unfair practices that are driving up rents. Corporate landlords and private equity firms across the country have been accused of illegal information sharing, price fixing, and inflating rents as part of the strike force of unfair and illegal pricing announced by President Biden on Tuesday. The president is calling on federal agencies to root out and stop illegal corporate behavior that hikes prices for American families through anti-competitive, unfair, deceptive, and fraudulent business practices. In a recent filing, the Department of Justice made clear its position that inflated rents caused algorithmic use of sensitive, non-public pricing supply information that violate antitrust laws. For example, listing properties on Zillow, go in there, let's say you're a landlord and you own a property in Denver, and you go to look to see, what other properties renting for in your local market. Maybe go into apartments.com, looking at comparables to get an idea of what you could get. That would be considered, in violation of this, right? So you would be a part of that problem. So look at this. It's going to continue. What we're going to walk into is the fall of the mom and pop landlord in a way in which we've never before seen. They say that 41% of all mom and pops units are owned by mom and pops. 20 million housing units across America. 20 million. So how did they hold as we start walking through this really, really big change? Right? How do these mom and pop landlords that have a lot of debt hold on? The ones that are going to hold on are the ones that own their properties free and clear, that have flexibility, that possibly could self-insure. They don't even need property insurance. They can, if something happens, they can take care of it themselves, and it's going to give them flexibility because through the swings, having some tenants maybe not pay, have insurance premiums skyrocket, they can kind of exempt themselves from that. Of course, they're going to have property taxes. Some locations will have higher property taxes than others. Some actually have exempts and caps. So depending on the market, it's going to change. But when you see all these curveballs coming, you can see one thing clearly. The rents are going to be going down in a very, very big way, and so are wages. For example, McKinsey reported that between 400 million and 800 million individuals could be displaced by automation, right? Then Medium.com saying 800 million jobs. Goldman saying roughly 300 million jobs. AI could replace 2.4 million, in the next 6 years. What you're going to see is just more and more and more jobs being lost over the next couple of years. And so what I believe is going to happen is I believe we're going to see massive supply in big cities. We're going to see a lot of this being funded by taxpayers, a lot of affordable housing. We're going to start to see wealthy people moving outside of the cities, working from home, and we're going to walk into a massive, massive change. Crime's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. What do you think about this entire situation? Drop below. Love to hear your opinion on it. I personally think it's going to be an incredible opportunity to be a buyer in the next couple years. So if you are planning on investing in real estate, make sure you're going to do it in the right market. Ideally, pay all cash, or have a very, very low mortgage on it, and play the defense game. Don't put yourself in a place to where you're so levered that if rents did fall 15, 20, 30, 40%, you wouldn't be able to withstand the change. Drop below, let's talk about this. And if you'd like to fix your credit, we would love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item in your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free starting session for tomorrow. Catch you next video.